Hi guys, my name is Eugene. Welcome back to my channel. And today we're doing a little backyard portrait photography. Why the backyard? Because I don't go out. Anyways, we're gonna utilize our creativity to see if we could get any good photos of ourselves. I'm just using my Android. Yeah, I'm one of those people. And a phone tripod. I'm hoping that we could use some shadows, some foregrounds, some backgrounds, and whatever we could utilize in the backyard to get some of these shots. So, let's just get started. So for this shot, I'm gonna be shooting where this kind of like brush is. I'm gonna use the flowers in the foreground to kind of like give my photo a little bit more depth. I'm gonna set up my camera right in front of it. And what I'll do is probably just be like right in this general area and then maybe like push the flower towards the camera. So my settings, I'm at ISO 100. My shutter's at 1/1500 and my white balance is at 56K. Let's go and shoot. All right, not too bad, not too bad. I also kind of want to try to get my right side. How would I do that? Okay, let's try that. I do like that shot. I wonder if you could make it a little better. Okay, I think we got one. All right, for this shot, I think I'm gonna do a reverse angle. Just see if I could play with the framing that way. Okay. Yeah, you know what? That's not bad. It's a little hot on my face. All right, so for this shot, I'm gonna be climbing up this waterfall, shooting low and using the flowers in the foreground. So kind of nice because I'm wearing a roses shirt and there's roses right there. So kind of digging this composition. So I only have 10 seconds to get up there, position myself and kind of like pose. So hopefully this works. 9, 8, 7, 6. Okay. I wish there was a 20-second timer. So I kind of have to figure out how to get up here. All right, one more time. Yeah, I'm good with that shot. So these are the 3 images that I like from this set. We're gonna be editing this one today, and we'll do something really cool. The next photo is this one, and I'll probably just edit this offline and then kind of just post it up on Instagram or something. For next week's tutorial, I think I wanna do something really cool with this one. Really go heavy with the Photoshop manipulation, add some, I don't know, I haven't really decided yet, but I know I wanna do something really cool with it, so stay tuned for that tutorial. Okay, first things first, so we're gonna start by making this image a little warmer. And then you just kind of wanna play around with your general settings until you get something that looks a little flat. We're gonna add a little bit of clarity. We're gonna do a 16:9 crop on the image just for Instagram because that's what they were moving to. All right, so let's create a new layer. Let's go to our healing brush tool and we're just gonna alt click somewhere close to where the blemish is and just paint it out. When I was shooting this thing, I was like, setting up the timer and then running into position. I was wearing like a smartwatch and I didn't realize I could just trigger the camera from my watch, which would have made this whole project a lot easier. All right, so we're gonna group our blemish removal and we're gonna call it cleanup. All right, so we're gonna create a new layer. Do stamp visible, make a duplicate. On your first layer, name it skin. And on your second layer, name it texture. Cool, so we'll start with the skin layer first. We'll go to blur, Gaussian blur, and then blur the image until you don't see any textures on your skin. Then we'll go to texture, image, apply image, set your layer to skin, set your blending to subtract. You want scale to be at 2 and offset at 128. And then you go to your blend modes and you're gonna choose linear light on the texture layer. So if you turn off the skin layer, you'll see all your textures. If you turn off your texture layer, you'll just see a blurry photo. Okay, so you're gonna wanna group these and then name that FS for frequency separation. So you wanna make a duplicate of your skin layer, and this is the layer we'll be working on. Hold click on your brush tool and select mixer brush. Pick a brush with the hardness all the way down. So you wanna alt click somewhere on the skin and you just wanna blend those colors together. So we're gonna create a new layer. You're gonna wanna pick a brush with the hardness all the way down. And we're just gonna fix the areas that didn't really blend that well. I have my flow set to 5, but if you're just starting out, you might wanna start with 1, maybe go as high as 3. And once you get comfortable, then you can go as high as 10. So you just wanna go on the layer that you just painted, and I like to lower the opacity and then bring it back up to something that looks nice. I'm actually gonna make a new layer because there's some areas on my chin that I just don't think are blended right. It's also good to just kind of work in sections too. It's just a lot easier to be able to control the image. Lower the opacity and then bring it back up. So I missed a few blemishes on my face. So we're gonna go to our texture layer, use a spot healing brush, and where it says current and below, you wanna change that to just current layer, and kind of do the same thing where you just alt click somewhere nearby that's smooth and then just get rid of the blemish. So I wanna fix the gray areas that are on my face. So what I wanna do is create a curves layer. We're gonna brighten that up with our red channel, move that up just a tiny bit, go to our blue channel and lower that. And then we're gonna invert our mask and then just paint on the areas that I think need color in it. So we're gonna pick selective color and we're just gonna play with all these channels until we get a tone that we like. So we just kind of go to each one and kind of move the sliders around until we get something that looks nice to you. I always try to get my skin tone correct with selective color. So. Group our curves and selective color together and just name this color. So we're gonna create a new layer, duplicate it, name one dodge, name one burn. Then we're gonna go to edit, fill, 50% gray. Change the blend mode to soft light for both of them. So we're gonna work with dodging first. So make sure you're on white, your brush hardness to 0, and then set your flow somewhere between 1 to 5. And then you're just gonna wanna paint white on all the highlights. We're actually gonna make a separate dodge and burn layer for the plants. Now we go to our burn layer and just paint black on anywhere that's dark. We're gonna go on our plant burn layer and just burn anything that looks dark too. So we're gonna go to all our dodge and burn layers and just play with opacity until we get something that we like. Let's group these together and name it local dodge. Kind of want reflections on my glasses. I'm actually gonna borrow a flower from one of the images I took from this set. Use our quick selection tool and just go around the flower. Then we're gonna hit select mask. I actually have a preset made for this. And then your output, you're gonna wanna output to new layer with mask. Then we're just gonna go around the flower with the pen tool. You just wanna trace around the areas you wanna get rid of, then right click, make selection, make sure you're on the layer mask, and then just paint black to erase it. Then we're gonna go to convert to smart object, Control C to copy, and Control V to paste. And then we're just gonna move it around and place it somewhere over my glasses. Control T to transform and just kind of move it around and then place it wherever. So we'll go to our blend modes. We'll pick linear dodge. Lower the opacity just so we can see my glasses, and then just use the pen tool to trace around where we want to place it. And then make a quick selection. It should cut out the flouted shape of my glasses. So we're going to create a curves, then we're going to clip the curves layer to the flowers. So that's Alt, and then you're just going to click down until you see an arrow that's pointing down. And kind of darken the areas. Paint black around the edges so it kind of just has a nice fade into it. And then we'll play with the opacity too. We'll create a saturation. If you create it under the curves mask, it'll just create a clipping mask automatically. We're just gonna go to red channel and then kind of play around with the hue and saturation until we can kind of match the flowers that are in our image. And then we're actually gonna just paint black over the stud, so the flower image is sitting on top of it. And then we're just gonna add another one and do the same exact thing. So I'll just speed that up. So further away back from the light, so it's gonna be a little dimmer. And then we're just gonna add another one. And since this one's sitting on top of something that's lighter, we're just gonna use soft light. Make a layer mask and just paint black around it until it's off my face and just on my glasses. So it's a little subtle. So another thing I want to add to this image, I thought it'd be nice if there was like butterflies around. Wasn't lucky, didn't see any, so we're just gonna have to composite in a butterfly into our image. I got this off Pixels. I'll link the photographer down below. So make a quick selection around the butterfly and then just hit select the mask. For this one, we're not actually gonna play with any of the settings. We're just gonna output to new layer with mask, and then just use the pen tool to trace around to get rid of anything that shouldn't be there. You know, and maybe also helps clean up the antennas a little, make them sharper. Just go around the butterfly. And, you know, I used to just use the pen tool for the whole thing. That I found that took forever, so now I just do quick selection with the pen tool, and I find that that's a little faster. After you're done, you just want to convert it to a smart layer too. Copy it and then paste it into our image. So we're just going to move this around until we find a good spot for them. So we're going to add a color balance. We're going to clip it to our butterfly layer. So you're just going to play with the midtones, the highlights, and the shadows. And then just move these sliders around until you can, you know, approximately get the same tone as our image. We're going to add the levels. We're going to clip that to a butterfly layer as well, because I think it's just a little too dark, and then just raise the blacks up a bit. We're going to add a curves and then clip that to our butterfly again. So all the adjustments layer from here on out, we're going to clip to the butterfly. Bring the blacks up a bit, because there's just areas in the butterfly that are just too dark. And then we're going to invert the layer mask. And then just paint on the really dark areas, to kind of just fade them out a bit. Okay, so we're gonna add a layer, clip that, go to our blend modes, pick color, and then we're gonna color the butterfly the same colors as the leaf, so he blends in a little bit more. On the antennas, we're gonna paint black, but everywhere else we're just gonna paint green, so he looks like he's sitting with the leaves. After we're done with that, we're gonna control click our butterfly, add a solid color adjustment, make that black. And then we're gonna transform it, grab the top handle and then hold shift and bring it down. Cool. Then we're gonna go to blur, Gaussian blur, and kind of blur it just a bit so it kind of matches the blur on the leaves. Position it so it's right underneath. Looks like he's getting shadow. Just paint black on the layer mask until it's kind of just on a few leaves where you think he'd make a shadow on. And then we're just gonna go opacity, lower that a bit. Make a butterfly a little bit smaller. Then we're gonna add a levels adjustment to the butterfly. Make it dark, and then we're just gonna paint shadows underneath them because if the sun's hitting them from the top, you'd have shadows underneath them. Okay, so we're gonna add a new layer underneath the butterfly, and we're gonna paint black underneath them and kind of just draw shadows. So he definitely looks like he's sitting on the leaf now. So we're gonna add highlight to the butterfly, create a new layer, make sure it's clipped to the butterfly, pick color dodge for the blend mode. I'm gonna pick like an orangey color, and you're just gonna paint around the edges. Maybe a brighter orange right on the outside. Then we're gonna go to blur, Gaussian blur. Blur it to 12.5 and then lower the opacity. And then we're gonna add a hue saturation. And then we're just gonna go to the yellow channel. We're gonna play with the hue to get to a color that kind of sort of matches our image. And then we're gonna lower the saturation down a bit and then lower the lightness. Cool, so we're gonna group this together, color butterfly. And then we're gonna go to the actual butterfly layer inside the folder. We're gonna add a Gaussian blur that matches like the leaves around it. So we're gonna add a curves layer, clip it to the butterfly, and then I'm just gonna do a bit of a dodge on its wings. Then I'm gonna add another curves layer, raise it up a bit, invert it, and then just dodge some certain parts of the butterfly until it matches. I know there's a lot of layers and there's a lot of going back and forth and making things lighter and darker, but hey man, that's how compositing goes. I mean, at least that's how it goes for me. I'm gonna do the same thing to this butterfly. I'm just gonna position them off to the side. Pretty much only difference will be that this one's gonna get more of a blur, but the technique I used for the first butterfly is pretty much the same for this butterfly. So I'm just gonna speed through this one. So let's check what we did so far, and yeah, it's looking good, looking great. We're doing it. So I'm gonna go to my channel mixer and just play with the red channel and kind of move these sliders around until I get like, you know, a look that I like. Some tropical, something bright, I don't know yet. I will in like 2 seconds. Right there is great. So I'm gonna add a selective color and just play with the red channel too, and then kind of get my lips looking like they have color. So we're gonna invert the mask and just paint it in. And I think I'm looking a little too lipsticky. So we're just gonna play with these until I get something I like. Not too bright. Let's lower the opacity too. Right there. It looks like my lips. So we're gonna do a global dodge and burn. So we're gonna add a curves adjustment, invert it, we'll call this dodge, and we're pretty much gonna dodge anything that has a highlight in the whole image. So I'm not gonna create another dodge layer for the plants, I'm just gonna dodge everything, pretty much. So make sure you're on white, soft round brush. You can start at 3, 2, whatever you're comfortable with. I'll be painting with around 5. And I'm just gonna start dodging the image. You wouldn't believe I shot this in my backyard. Right? Looks like I'm like, I don't know, somewhere in like the jungles. No, I'm in my backyard, behind a bush. Showed this picture to somebody, they thought I'd be on vacation. They're like, where'd you go? I'm like, the back of my house. I'm just gonna keep dodging until we're done. We're gonna add another curves layer. We're gonna pull the handles down. Call this burn. Invert the layer mask, and then just burn anything that's dark, you know? If there's a shadow in it, burn it. That's my motto. You know, burn that, burn the butterflies, burn everything. Alright, so we're gonna go to our dodge layer. We're gonna double click, and then on the underlying layer, we're gonna pull the black sliders until white doesn't show on anything that's black, and it kind of gives you a better fall off with your dodging and burning. We're gonna do the same thing to our burn layer. Blacks aren't gonna show on anything that's white. And that's why with this, with the curves layer, dodging and burning technique, you could be a little bit more messy because you could actually just like be able to control where the fall off is on both layers. Just fix this up a bit more. And then we're gonna go to our opacity. For some reason, whenever I lower the opacity to anything, I always like to look at my photos further back just because I feel like it's easier to see the whole image. So if it's like big and blown up, I don't know, it's harder for me to like see everything, and I start focusing on like one thing in the image. But if I do it this way, like I could actually see the whole image. Alright, so I'm gonna add another curves layer, my best friend. Just raise it up a tiny bit. We're gonna go to image, apply image. Make sure your blending is on multiply, and then we're gonna invert it and hit OK, and just brightens up our picture a little bit more. I feel like our local dodge is a little too much, so I'm gonna just lower it a bit. Damn, it's looking nice, looking nice. We're gonna add a little red tint to my skin, so we're just gonna use a curves layer. We're gonna raise it up just a tiny bit. Go to image, apply image, invert, and hit OK. Make sure you're on multiplying your blending. The light parts of my skin were plain red, but in the shadows they were looking a little too blue. Double tap on our curves layer, split the blacks in the underlying layer so it doesn't show up on the lighter part of our skin, of my skin. Alright, so we're gonna work on the eyes now. Create another curves adjustment, raise that up, and then we're just gonna paint on the white parts of our eyes so they're just a little bit brighter. Just lower that down, add a hue saturation. Go to your yellow channel, your eyes looking yellow like mine, and we're just gonna lower the saturation and then raise the lightness. So we're gonna work on the iris. We're gonna create another curves layer. You're gonna wanna raise the handle all the way up till your photo is bright AF. And then you're gonna wanna use a brush with the flow all the way to 100. And you kinda wanna just like dab around the iris, kinda like randomly, just like this. And you know, try not to get them too much into the middle. And then we're gonna go to blur, Gaussian blur, and then blur it just a tiny bit, around anywhere below 3 and under. And we're just gonna lower the opacity on that layer. And we're gonna create another curves layer, and then just dodge this highlight in my eyes. And you might be wondering why I didn't do it in the dodge and burn layer. I don't know, I like to work in sections, so this is my eye section. So everything with eyes is just in this section. And it's easier to find like layers when you work this way. And I forget a lot, so I gotta go through all of them. So it's just easier for me this way. Just lower the opacity. Name this eyes. We're gonna sharpen our image of it. So create a stamp visible, hit Control-Shift-U to make it black and white. You go to your blend mode and pick overlay. Then you're gonna go to filter, other, high pass filter, set it to 4.5. We're gonna add a layer mask, invert it, and just paint white on the areas you wanna sharpen. I'm gonna sharpen my hair, and then I'm gonna sharpen my glasses, my eyes, my eyebrows, the tip of my nose, my lips, and my chin. So they just kind of like pop out a bit more. Well, I don't like this highlight on my nose. So I'm gonna make a new layer, use a healing brush. Make sure it's set to current and below. And then we're just gonna get rid of this highlight that's on my nose. Actually, that's not a pimple, that's something permanent on my nose, but I could really get rid of the highlight without getting rid of that too. So we're just gonna blend the skin a little bit more. I'm not gonna do another frequency separation. There's another technique that you could use to keep texture and kind of paint. I'm gonna make a stamp visible. I'm gonna set this to overlay. Control-Shift-U to make it black and white. So I'm gonna go to filter, other, high pass, set it to 4.5. Create a layer underneath our high pass layer. And then you're gonna clip the high pass layer to the empty layer. You're just gonna paint on the empty layer. So this high pass layer will only show when I start brushing onto my nose. So yeah, we're just gonna brush that a bit so it blends better. We're gonna add a curves. I'm gonna raise that up, and then we're gonna just dodge my nose a bit. They didn't really do it earlier, so we're gonna do it now. So dodge that down, give it a highlight, double click on the curves layer, and tell it don't let it show where the underlying layer is black. So we'll split those two sliders. Cool, and then lower the opacity until we get something we're happy with. Like right there. Looks pretty good. Do a quick check. That looks great. That looks great. I think we're done. We're gonna go back to Lightroom. So in this section, you can pretty much do whatever you want. I'll post my settings for this image off to the side so you can follow along, but I mean, going through each setting would take forever, and I don't want you guys to sit through that. So I'll just post it off to the side so you can see and then kind of, you know, compare to what you have, or, you know, just freestyle it. Do whatever, it's your world. I definitely want it to look tropical, maybe someplace exotic. You know, get the butterflies going. So I'm gonna use a radial blur around my face, invert it, and kind of darken all the surroundings around me, and then lower the sharpness just to give it some depth. And then use the color grading just to give it a final look. I also think my face is just a little too dark, so I'm going to use a brush mask and just go over my face to kind of give it separation from my background and my foreground. And I also think the butterfly is a little too sharp still, so I'm just going to make another mask, paint around the butterfly, and then lower the sharpness down, just so it matches the leaves a bit more. Ooh, I think all this needs is maybe if we add another radial mask. Warm it up a bit and a little bigger, and then brighten it up. Just kind of makes it look a little more tropical, a little more exotic, you know what I mean? So I'm really digging this photo. I might actually get it printed, give it to my mom. You know, maybe she can hang it. If you like this tutorial, it'd be awesome if you gave it a thumbs up. You know, it'd be great if you guys subscribe too. I would really like to do some more fun things. And if you enjoyed the content I've been making. Also, leave a comment down below on what I could do better. You know, like I said, I'm still kind of learning how to do this. And my only frame of reference is just like watching other people's YouTubes. Let me know what I'm doing right. Let me know what I'm doing wrong so I can fix those things and make this a better experience for you guys. So thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week.